What about the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the media? Have you ever heard about that?
This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by
LCL Report, LCLReport.com.
And if they want to break chops, then needless to say, let's break chops.
He comes off cocky, demanding of City Hall.
I'd like to speak to the city manager.
Excuse me, I haven't given you permission.
Listening to him, you might almost think he lived in a country that protected speech.
We'll see you guys in court.
All right.
Have a good day.
Okay, thank you.
Make sure you tell the taxpayers you had a chance.
Thank you.
Hey, like Clint Eastwood said, let's make my day.
His name is Wallace Nolen.
Are you saying the media is not allowed
the
here?
deputies up in court.
What about the First Amendment, freedom of speech, the media? Have you ever heard about that?
What the hell is wrong with you people?
That's assault.
Cowards. A whole lot of it.
They're holding the door closed now. I can't. This is a public courtroom.
Call 911.
I've got to record right now.
If you call 911, you'll be arrested.
Let's just say Nolen isn't the only man who's upset with authorities in New Hampshire. Let's go back toward the beginning. According to the Keene Sentinel, Nolen is on a crusade to accomplish three things. First, he wants to build a database of public employees. He wants to prove that governments are essentially ripping off their own workers. To do that, he needs something that sounds like it would help us all. He needs the government to answer right-to-know requests by email or by some other electronic format.
What did they say they would give you?
Exactly what I'm holding in my hand.
Well, what's wrong with it?
It's not in computer format.
Lastly, the Vermont resident is demanding information about my arrest in Keene in the spring of '09.
I'll approach in a minute and a half.
You remember, that's me behind the camera, broadcasting my own arrest live as authorities seized me for refusing to turn the camera off in a court lobby. I'm not sure what good he'll do with all the various data he's after, and I'm not sure I like his approach. But, as usual, the government seems to be acting as though obnoxiousness is a crime, when obnoxiousness is the number one thing the First Amendment was supposed to protect. Which brings us back to Nolen's two curious friends. Actually, I think there's more like 5 here. Nolen is suing the city of Keene for failing to provide its records in electronic format. The hearing is happening behind these doors, at Superior Court. What you're seeing is a radio host and a documentary videographer, each trying to take their cameras into the hearing.
Allowed in this courtroom.
No, there's nothing going on.
Great. So
Let's
then I
go,
have to be in
or
here.
you're going to be arrested right now.
That's assault, man.
For half an hour or so, they verbally spar with security officers and deputies. They bang on the door. They otherwise annoy the Crown. Again, listening to Nolen, you would almost think he lives in a country where you can sue the government and get a fair trial from the government. But not only is that questionable, it's up in the air whether Nolen will even survive the trial financially intact. You see, the city says Nolen's behavior in speaking with the city and suing it is harassment. I don't know if there's something they're accusing him of beyond the crusty demands he makes, but if there is such an allegation, the pro-government Keene Sentinel failed to mention it. The article says simply, quote, during the hearing, Mullins accused Nolen of verbally abusing city employees over the course of his right-to-know requests, unquote. There's another line from the Sentinel article that's interesting. Paraphrasing the city attorney, the Sentinel says, quote, he said Nolen's lawsuit is baseless and constitutes harassment, unquote. A Superior Court judge will determine how to handle both Nolen's claims and those of the city, and that is expected to take weeks. As for the angry liberty activists who demanded to film Nolen's appearance, one activist observing them had this to say, quote, I think you guys should hold an open forum for the officers in city to attend. Their understanding of the liberty perspective is so minimal any of your activism is going instantly over their heads. It is apparent with the questions you ask them They aren't even sure of their own beliefs. They simply have been following rules and orders without thinking of the implications for a long time. I think they need to listen to you guys, speak about why you were doing what you were doing, and let them ask questions if they don't understand." Unquote. That's from James Butabi on forum.freekeene.com. I hope I'm saying his name right. Also, I have some info regarding the city's position, as outlined by the Sentinel. Authorities say they have given Nolen more than is required by law, that they could have denied him outright for being a Vermonter. Lastly, the judge will rule on the case, I think he's expected to rule in a few weeks, both on whether Nolen was harassing and whether Nolen will get what he wants in terms of electronic records and reimbursement for his legal expenses. Lastly, I think it's also possible the judge might rule on whether or not he gets the information he wants about me.
LCLReport.com.
Pro-freedom jewelry from my #1 student, Taryn Lupo at the Low Country Liberty Report. Just click on the jewelry link at
LCL Report. LCL Report.